Have you ever tried to fix a deeply broken car with just one oil change? Sounds absurd, right? Yet that's exactly what we do with our lives, trying to patch up years of accumulated damage with a quick fix mentality. Let's talk about the unspoken equation between our problems and the time it takes to truly solve them. Think about your brain as a vast network of neural highways. These roads weren't built overnight. They're the result of years of repeated thoughts, behaviors, and experiences. Some of these paths lead to dead ends, others to endless circles of self-sabotage. When multiple areas of life simultaneously crumble, relationships fracture, career stagnates, health deteriorates, we're not dealing with isolated incidents, but a fundamental flaw in our internal navigation system. Consider Maria, a brilliant software engineer who spent 15 years building the wrong life. 70-hour work weeks, a marriage that existed only on paper, and chronic anxiety, all symptoms of a deeper misalignment, not just separate issues. Her initial approach, one therapy session per week sandwiched between meetings. 3 months later, nothing had changed. Why? Because you can't rewire 15 years of neural pathways with 15 hours of scattered attention. The truth is, our healing time must match our hurting time. When a professional athlete injures themselves, they don't just spend 20 minutes a day on recovery. They immerse themselves in rehabilitation. Every movement, every meal, every moment becomes part of the healing process. Our emotional and psychological healing demands the same level of dedication. This is where the 28-day threshold becomes crucial. Neuroscience shows us that creating new neural pathways requires consistent, focused attention for at least 4 weeks. It's not arbitrary. It's the minimum time your brain needs to begin accepting a new pattern as normal. But here's the catch. These must be full, engaged days, not just sporadic moments of awareness between Netflix episodes. The transformation process mirrors learning a new language. You wouldn't expect to become fluent in Japanese by studying for 10 minutes before bed. Real fluency requires immersion, thinking, dreaming, living in the new language. Similarly, real personal change demands that we immerse ourselves in new thought patterns, new emotional responses, new ways of interpreting our world. What does this immersion actually look like? It means dedicating significant daily time to introspection, therapy, journaling, or meditation. It means temporarily stepping back from non-essential commitments to focus on your internal landscape. It means treating your psychological healing with the same urgency as you would a physical injury, requiring surgery and rehabilitation. The math is simple but demanding. If multiple areas of your life are in crisis, you need multiple hours per day of focused inner work. 1 hour of therapy plus 1 hour of meditation plus 1 hour of journaling multiplied by 28 days equals the minimum investment for beginning real change. Trying to heal with anything less is like attempting to launch a hot air balloon while keeping it firmly tethered to the ground and then wondering why you're not soaring. But here's where it gets even more intricate. Even as you begin to lift off, the real work is just beginning. Think of yourself as a novice balloon pilot. The initial ascent is just the first step. Now you must master the continuous adjustments needed to navigate different air currents, maintain your altitude, and reach new heights. Every moment requires your complete attention to wind patterns, temperature changes, and fuel management. This is exactly how inner transformation works. Those initial 28 days, they're just your takeoff runway. The real journey demands that every moment of your day becomes an opportunity for conscious navigation. Standing in line at the grocery store? That's a chance to observe your impatience patterns. Receiving criticism at work? That's your laboratory for studying emotional triggers. Having a disagreement with your partner? That's your practice ground for new communication patterns. Most people make the critical mistake of treating inner work like a part-time job, something you do during therapy or meditation, then set aside to live your life. This is like a pilot who only pays attention to their instruments during pre-flight checks, then hopes for the best once airborne. The result? You'll either crash back to Earth or find yourself flying in circles, ending up exactly where you started. Real transformation demands a fundamental shift in how you approach every second of your existence. It's not about adding more healing activities to your schedule. It's about turning your entire life into a conscious healing journey. Every interaction, every emotion, every thought becomes data for your internal navigation system. Think about a professional athlete. They don't just train during practice hours, they're constantly aware of their body mechanics, whether they're walking to their car or reaching for a coffee cup. Their training isn't a separate part of their life, it is their life. This is the level of awareness required for genuine psychological transformation. This constant vigilance isn't about obsessive self-criticism or punishing awareness. Instead, it's about developing what we might call transformative presence, the ability to simultaneously live your life and observe how you're living it. It's like having an internal video camera running at all times, not to judge, but to gather information and make real-time adjustments. When you reach for your phone the moment you feel uncomfortable, that's data. When you deflect a compliment with self-deprecation, that's data. When you overcommit to avoid saying no, that's data. Each of these moments is a chance to implement your new operating system rather than falling back into old patterns. Most people abandon their growth journey precisely when it starts working because they make the mistake of trying to evaluate their progress. They start wondering, how high have I gone? Am I doing this right? Should I be further along by now? This is like a pilot becoming so preoccupied with checking their altitude that they stop monitoring wind currents and controlling their burners, a sure recipe for losing height or getting blown off course. The key is to understand that transformation isn't a destination you reach, but a new way of moving through life. Every moment either reinforces your old patterns or builds your new ones. There is no neutral ground. This might sound exhausting, but actually it's liberating. Instead of trying to squeeze healing into designated slots in your schedule, you turn your entire life into a growth opportunity. This is the uncomfortable truth most personal development content won't tell you. Many of us are inadvertently sabotaging our own transformation while convincingly performing the role of someone committed to change. We attend the workshops, read the books, hire the coaches, but we keep the balloon tethered, never truly allowing ourselves to leave the ground. Why? Because real transformation threatens everything we've built our identity around. Our nervous system has become addicted to chaos, to struggle, to the familiar pain of our current patterns. We've become experts at maintaining our dysfunction while appearing to work on ourselves. It's like installing a high-tech navigation system in a car with no engine. Impressive on the surface, but fundamentally missing the point. Think about the last time you said you couldn't afford therapy, couldn't find time for meditation, or couldn't pause your commitments for inner work. Now think about how quickly you found money for an emergency car repair or time for a work crisis. The truth? We always find resources for what we truly prioritize. Our excuses are just clever disguises for our fear of real change. These excuses, lack of time, money, or energy, are actually inverted evidence of exactly what we need to address. Can't afford therapy? Perhaps it's time to examine your relationship with money and self-worth. No time for inner work? Maybe your relationship with time and boundaries needs healing. Every excuse points directly to the core wounds we're avoiding. The irony is exquisite. We avoid the very experiences that would transform our lives because they would transform our lives. We say we want change, but we've built elaborate systems to prevent it. It's like installing a security system to protect ourselves from our own freedom. Let's be brutally honest. If you're giving 1 hour a week to heal patterns that took decades to build, you're not really trying to change. You're performing change. You're doing just enough to maintain the illusion of progress while ensuring you never have to face the discomfort of real transformation. It's like trying to heat a swimming pool with a matchstick and wondering why you're still cold. Real transformation demands disruption. It requires you to temporarily destabilize your current life structure to build a new foundation. This might mean reducing your social commitments, taking a sabbatical, or investing savings in intensive therapy. It might mean finally admitting that your current approach isn't working and hasn't been working for years. The nervous system is remarkably adaptive, but it needs clear signals. When we send mixed messages, saying we want change while maintaining every aspect of our current life structure, we're essentially speaking two contradictory languages. It's like trying to drive forward while keeping one foot on the brake. You'll move, but you'll destroy the engine in the process. Here's the crucial part most people miss. Your brain is hardwired to take the path of least resistance. Always. It's not personal. It's pure survival mechanics. Think of it like water flowing downhill. Water doesn't decide to take the most challenging route. It naturally follows the existing grooves and channels, the paths of least resistance. Your neural pathways work exactly the same way. Those dysfunctional patterns you're trying to change, they're like deep riverbed grooves carved over years of repetitive thoughts and behaviors. They might be causing you pain, but to your brain, they're the equivalent of a superhighway, wide, familiar, and energy efficient. When you're stressed, tired, or overwhelmed, your thoughts and behaviors will automatically flow down these well-worn channels, just like water finding its natural course. This is why half-hearted attempts at change are worse than no attempt at all. When you try to create new patterns while keeping one foot in your old life, you're essentially asking your brain to choose between a familiar superhighway and a barely visible dirt path. Guess which one it will default to every single time? It's like trying to redirect a river while leaving the old riverbed intact. The water might briefly flow in your desired new direction when you're actively managing it, but the moment you reduce your effort, perhaps during stress, fatigue, or distraction, it will inevitably rush back to its familiar course. This is why people often find themselves sliding back into old patterns despite their best intentions, especially during challenging times. The implications are profound. Unless you create conditions where the new path becomes the path of least resistance, your brain will inevitably default to its old programming. This is why traditional approaches to change, trying to add new habits while maintaining old environments and triggers, almost always fail. It's not because you lack willpower or commitment. It's because you're fighting against your brain's fundamental operating system. This is why most personal development work fails to create lasting change. We try to integrate new patterns while maintaining the exact environmental conditions that created our old patterns. It's like trying to grow a garden without pulling the weeds. The new seeds never stand a chance. The way forward is both simple and challenging. You must match your investment to your desired outcome. If you want to transform multiple areas of your life, you need a multifaceted, intensive approach. This means dedicated daily practice, professional support, and most importantly, a willingness to temporarily destabilize your current life structure. The question isn't whether you have the resources for this work. The question is whether you're ready to stop pretending that half measures will heal whole wounds. Are you ready to untether your balloon? Are you willing to let go of the ground to find your sky? Remember, transformation isn't about adding more. It's about allowing fundamental change. Your healing work must match the depth of your wounds. Your commitment must match your desired outcome. Anything less is just sophisticated self-deception. If this message resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more unvarnished truths about personal transformation, and let me know in the comments. What's the big change you've been avoiding under the guise of small actions? Thank you for watching, sharing, and subscribing. This is Ayla, signing off.